With me is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer, a member of the Executive Committee of the Freedom Democratic Party and a candidate of that party for the United States Congress. Mrs. Hamer, tell us a little about yourself, what part of the South you come from, and how you got involved in Freedom Democratic Party politics.
Thank you very much. My home is in Roosevelt, Mississippi. It's located in the Black Belt of Mississippi, known as the Delta area. And actually, the way I got involved in the Freedom Democrat Party is we tried to get in the regular Democrat Party. We tried from the precinct level up to the county and from the county to the state. I remember when we tried to attend the precinct meeting at the little polling place in Roosevelt. It was 8 of us, 8 Negroes went up to visit the precinct meeting, and the door was locked and we couldn't get in. And we stood on the outside and held our own meeting. We elected our chairman and our secretary, our delegates and our alternates, and we passed the law to resolution. And we moved from the precinct level on through the county and up to the state. The 24th of April in 1964, we organized at the Masonic Temple in Jackson, Mississippi, the Mississippi Freedom Democrat Party. And then the 24th of August in 1964, we went to the National Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey, to challenge the seating of the regular delegation from Mississippi.
In which you were unsuccessful.
That's right. We was offered 2 votes at large as a compromise
In the convention.
in the convention. But after 100 years, we wouldn't accept a compromise because it didn't mean anything to 63,000 people at that time was registered with the Freedom Democrat Party, so we didn't compromise. So again, in January, beginning the 4th of January, the 3 candidates from the Freedom Democrat Party, Mrs. Gray, Mrs. Devine, and I went up before the door of the House of Representatives to contest the seating of the 5 representatives from Mississippi. And we was turned away and we wasn't allowed to even go in to have, to contest their seating. We didn't go there to be seated because we knew from the beginning that we wouldn't be seated, but we wanted to explain our side. Whereas in a state that 42% of the people can't register, they wasn't representing us. And I think it's time now for somebody to be in Congress that's going to represent the people of Mississippi. And we wasn't allowed to go inside, but that didn't stop the challenge. We did have that day 149 congressmen that stood up against these people being seated. So we are still working with this challenge. And we hope by the last of this month, which is August, that we will have a chance to unseat these congressmen. Because actually, this voting bill that the president passed last week, it doesn't mean anything. And I'm not looking for a voting bill in 1965 when they are not enforcing the voting bill and our voting rights with the 15th Amendment, which guaranteed us the same rights to vote from the 15th Amendment in 1870. And at that time, 1870, Mississippi was readmitted back to the Union because they promised at that time that they wouldn't do anything to disenfranchise Negroes to keep them from registering to vote. So now it's a matter of a violation of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. And what I'm curious to see, do the Constitution of the United States mean anything? So far, it hadn't worked. And I'm sick of seeing this kind of stuff on paper. We want them to do something about it because we are a part of America, because we didn't come here on our own. Our parents and our descendants was from Africa, and we didn't come on our own, but we do want to be treated as human beings. And I'm fighting for human right, not for equal right.
I'm rather interested in one thing here. Before you set up your own Democratic Party, you tried to enter the the local Democratic Party. And I wondered why you did that, because my instinct, if I'd been in your situation, would be not to join that club, that Democratic club or Democratic organization, but to form another one with all the liberal people in the community to contest the elections as the Democratic Party.
The reason we tried, if we hadn't tried to go in it and then just set this one up, they would have said from the beginning, if we had tried, we could have got in theirs. But you see, we done the only fair thing to do. We wasn't accepted, so we've set up a Freedom Democrat Party in Mississippi, and I think it's one of the most effective weapons in this whole United States.
I see. I'm still a little puzzled. Maybe it's because I'm a foreigner. I would never join the Democratic Party in this country if I were an American citizen, because part of the party is racialist. I'd say they'd have to throw them out before I joined it. And perhaps Europeans think more ideologically about their parties.
Well, I don't think you thinking ideologic about it,
Well,
but we got quite an education in seeing what the whole Democrat Party of this country was like
what
at
was
that
your
national
impression of it?
convention. In fact, I cried. I don't know would I really been involved in politics now if I had known it was like it is. But one day, I think working with this Mississippi Freedom Democrat Party and so many great people that I find in this country, and especially these young people of this country, we will have a great democracy. And only through that we can bring a change, because I'm really fed up with covering up stuff. This stuff has been covered up year after year. And we are beginning now to sweep it out from under the rug, that the world can see that we are not free in America. And that make nobody free here until we all are free.
But let me clear up another point with you, or have you clear up another point. Does the Freedom Democratic Party regard itself as a group that wants to make the Democratic Party more democratic, in the way that Theodore Roosevelt in his Bull Moose Party tried to change the Republican Party, going back and merging with the party again when it had accepted his views? Or do you really consider this a third party now?
Well, to me, it really seemed to be actually a third party, because it is so far different from the Democrats of this country. And I don't see no other way other than a third party.
Many people think of the Freedom Democratic Party as principally a civil rights organization that's entered politics. But is it more than that? Does it have a wide sort of program on a great number of issues beside this matter of voting rights and civil rights?
Yes, and it is not an organization. It is a party, not an organization.
I'm glad you made that clear. Could you tell us something about the main planks in the platform of the party, starting with civil rights, exactly what you're aiming to achieve there in terms of legislation?
Well, we stand, and I don't know what I should say all of this or not, but our policy are far different from from even the National Democrat Party. It is very different. The things that we stand for, and in foreign policies, it's quite a different.
Well, good. Now, on domestic policy, I take it you stand for a greater amount of legislation guaranteeing individual rights.
Yes.
And I gather you don't think in terms of just Negro rights, but individual rights, period.
Individual rights. You see, it doesn't matter to me whether the person is an Indian, a Jew, a Chinese, a Mexican, whatever nation they are. I think they should have their rights.
Now, what you mentioned foreign policy a moment ago. For instance, the biggest issue in foreign policy at the moment is the war in Vietnam. Does the party take any position in American involvement in an Asian conflict like that?
Well, right now I hadn't met with the executive committee to have to say what stand that the Freedom Democrat Party will have on a policy of Vietnam. I have my own personal feelings about Vietnam.
But the party will come out with a policy on it?
I'm not sure, but we might. We have been accused of saying that, the stand we had taken. But at the time it was said that we had taken, made a policy of what we felt about Vietnam. The executive committees at that time hadn't had a meeting, to say what we would say. But personally, me, I'm against America going to Vietnam. And the reason, I have several reasons why I don't think that we have any business in Vietnam. First place, I don't think that you can tell me how and clean up my house if your house is, is nasty. I think we'll have to think in terms of cleaning up our own place before we can go and do a job some other place.
What do you know about the multiverse?
Oh, nobody heard me because I was muted. But what's up, everybody? I'm your host, Bad Top Bricks, here at another week of the Multiverse Podcast. I am joined with my wonderful cast, and we're going to bring them out so you all can see who they are. We are short one, but he'll be here soon. But I want to introduce first, if you're not familiar with this young lady, the only woman on the panel, the queen of the multiverse, our very own Holly Noon. What's going on, Holly? And next, we are joined with the funny man himself. If you haven't seen him, you need to go check him out. The one and only Minnie Morales. What's going on? What's going on?
What it do?
Yes,
Good afternoon.
he will be joined shortly by the fourth piece of the puzzle, but he's not here yet. When he joins us, we'll make sure we shout him out. But what's going on, guys? It is another week of the multiverse. I'm so excited to have this conversation as I'm saying this. The man himself, the myth, has joined us. Uh, I'm scared to put you up. Okay, there we go. There we go. Up the black
Professor X.
What up?
Professor X joined us. What's going on?
Just
Glad to
in
have the
time.
whole crew here. Just in time. Guys, we are still celebrating Black History, and we will continue to celebrate Black History all year long, every week. And this week we had the pleasure, and I mean the pleasure, of spotlighting a woman that I mean, after doing my research, I was so proud to have had someone like this representing us. Fannie Lou Hamer, the youngest of 20 children in a family of sharecroppers, Hamer has been known as the woman who changed the South. She fought for Black voting rights and became a powerful voice in efforts for greater economic opportunities for African Americans. And she has a quote: "Nobody's free until everybody's free." Woo, that's powerful. I'm gonna go with you, Holly. Fannie Lou Hamer, like I said, is very instrumental on us having the rights, some of the rights that we have as individuals, as Black people, as Americans.
Mhm.
What does Fannie Lou's contribution mean to you?
I mean, I think it's the importance of being able to advocate, um, not only for yourself, but for a cause that can really benefit other people, like a large community. So when we're talking about social justice, social advocacy, fighting for inclusion, diversity, equity, all those kind of things, she's who comes to mind for me. Like her passion for just having the rights to vote, and how she said, I don't care if you're Indian, or, just for everybody to have the human right and the opportunity to, represent themselves and their ideals and values. And so she means for me, just being able to advocate for yourself and others.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if you knew this, Tyrone, but after doing some research, and kind of listening to Fannie Lou tell her story, um, one of the things that stood out to me is the type of stuff that she went through. Like she told the story of being locked up one time and them separating all of the people that were locked up with her and then taking her in a cell, and the guard, the officer who took her into the cell handed a blackjack to a black inmate that was already being held in the cell, and told this inmate that you better beat her, and if you don't, you know what's going to happen. And what happened was this inmate commenced to beating her, and then passed, when once he was tired, he passed the blackjack to another black inmate. He beat her, and then when he was tired, they passed the blackjack back to the police officer, and then he beat her. And when you hear this story of just the pain that one goes through, and what the mental stability of someone who goes through that has to be, like, what do you think of a person who has that type of stamina and fortitude to go through something like
I mean, I this is my first time learning about Fannie Lou Hamer, so this is all new information to me. So thanks, Multiverse, for teaching me some stuff. So that's cool to hear the story though, and to you know use words like mental stability and stamina and stuff. I think it goes so far past that. Like there's I don't know if it's just pure survival instinct or what, but the more impressive thing to me than even making it out of that moment alive is making out of that moment and not being deterred and continuing to be a force for good in your community and for your people. Uh, that to me is like, when it's the epitome of you cannot be broken by the system, and it's not easy for everybody. And there's a lot of people who talk a lot of talk and don't walk a lot of walk. And Fannie Lou Hamer was not one of those people.
that? Absolutely, absolutely. Manny Morales, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one to you. I'm gonna unmute your mic. I heard a little background noise. Sorry about that. Um, but again, this week we're spotlighting Fannie Lou, and she was so instrumental on voting rights for Black people and people of color, and women, and just so many different things that she stood for. Um, you know, what is her contribution, to the cause and to what we're able to, do as human beings now in 2023, mean to you?
Well, to begin with, it's easy for you to advocate for the problems that you might have, right? Or the problems that your own people that you see around you might have. But for you to take it further and include everyone else, and not just include everyone else in what you're doing, but also let everyone else understand that we're all going through the same thing. At that time, we're all what a lot of people would, like you said, Asian, doesn't matter what, the voter suppression was being done in all fronts. As long as you were not with the mainstream of what was going on at the time, that voter suppression was coming, especially in like, in disenfranchised communities like minorities. So putting all that to the forefront and just making it about everyone. And like he said as well, like Tyrone has said as well, a lot of people talk the talk. And I think a lot of us would say what we would do in those situations if you were back then in those days. I would do this, I would do that, but none of us really say how we would move the movement forward. All we want to say is how violent we will get. Oh, if they say this, I'll die before this. I die. Yeah, but these people chose not to, for you to have the things that you have. So they chose not to go ahead and be violent and basically die and not accomplish anything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I just want to take another moment to put this picture up of Fannie Lou Hamer, and just thank her. I know she's no longer with us, but I just want to thank her for her contributions and just being the strong Black woman that she was. I mean, coming from a household of 20 children.
Yeah, that's
Woo,
crazy.
That's, I mean, you have to think most of that strength came from her mom, that patience, that fortitude. Because to raise 20 kids, I only got two that live with me. So and I and I go crazy every day. I'm pulling out hairs, grays are popping up. So I couldn't imagine what 20 kids running around the house feels like. But again, she if it wasn't for her, pushing the envelope and another thing that I think a lot of people need to understand is they had to teach themselves. Like there was no one to teach them how
Right.
to get right for these voter registrations and because it was like they had to know things and they had to be self-taught. They had to go and into different places in order to learn how to do this. You had to um, you know, form alliances because she spoke also about the alliances that she had made in order to be able to get to this point. A lot of Jewish people were at the forefront of these alliances, and she spoke very vividly in some of the speeches and some of the commentary that I've heard in regards to those alliances. But she wouldn't stop. She went. She said there were places she went. They would lock them out. They wouldn't let them in, and they said, okay, well, if you're not going to let us in, we'll create our own. And again, we just want to we just want to send a special shout out from the multiverse and extend our thanks to Fannie Lou Hamer, a legend in Black history. All right, guys. Now we are here for a reason. The topic this week uh, is one that I searched the internet and found that this is something that people were talking about. Um, the Titanic is going down. Is it time to abandon ship? Now, I know what you're thinking. Are we going to talk about the Titanic? No, we're not going to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, and we're not going to talk about freezing in the middle of the ocean. No, not a love story. This is about that huge ship that we call America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Um, Guys, there is and has been a trending topic as of 2022 and pushing into 2023, where a lot of people have been contemplating whether or not to stay in America or leave America. And what I wanted to start the conversation with is I'd like to hear from each of you. What are some of the reasons why we should stay in America before we talk about why people are talking about leaving? Um, I'm going to go with you first, Holly. What are some of the reasons that you are happy to live in America and maybe advise people, if you want to, as to why they should stay?
I mean, I'll say I like staying in America because I'm close to my family and friends, and if I moved away, I wouldn't see them. It's a very sentimental and emotional response. I don't necessarily have a logical response because I can't be like, oh, jobs are better or college is better. I mean, I think that's subjective, to be honest, from whose perspective. But I think for me, it would just be, yeah, I feel like there's issues wherever you go. But I think for me, if I wouldn't leave because of my family ties, family and friends, and not being able to see them on a regular basis, I feel like that would mess with me, like mentally, like mental health wise, like down the line being so far. So yeah.
Okay, so yours is strictly personal.
Yes.
Strictly, yeah. Okay, gotcha. No problem there. How about you, Minnie? What are some of the things you can, I guess, spotlight about America that makes it so great, and why people should stay here?
Well, I mean, I will start with the fact that why would I not leave? We built this mug. I'll be damned if I'm gonna build the damn thing and then leave when the shit is flourishing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that we at the best of times. It's not might not be the best of times, might be the worst of times, but it's all times we did build this mug. Okay, let's remember that point. So that's one reason why I wouldn't leave. Two, I'd say that for as much and listen, when it comes to people who know who I am, they all know for a fact that I'm not the biggest fan of the government at all. So taking that aside, we're gonna take that to the side. America itself, the idea of America is a beautiful idea, right? It's a melting pot. It's a place where everybody can go and be great. Okay. If you take it at face value and we can build to make it that and that for what it is, I think that we really could one day actually have a great place to be that is for everyone. So as long as we stick to what we supposedly, and I say we, knowing damn well I had no part in this, as long as we stick to what we said this was supposed to be, you know what I mean? Then it should be what it's supposed to be. But other than that, I really don't know have a reason. But like I said, we built this mug. I ain't gonna go nowhere. Okay.
All right, all right. I can respect that decision. Tyrone, I'm gonna go a little left with you, and change up that question a little
Throwing
bit.
curveballs. All right.
I'm throwing curveballs, man. So swing, batter, swing. Let's like this is what we're gonna do, man. Um, my question to you is more on the lines of what Minnie just said. What this country represented, the moniker of land of the free, home of the brave. As a black man in America, it has America lived up to that moniker? And currently, do you believe that the home of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave, is still applicable in 2023?
I think I would have to argue that I don't know if there was ever a point where it was truly applicable. We have, of course, this country started with slavery. So, a lot of these people were not free. And then even now, I mean, we're a country with the most incarcerated people in the world. You know what I mean? Like we lead the league in locking people up. So, to say that we're the home of the free isn't exactly the most accurate thing you could say. And this is just numbers. This is just objective thought. And there are other systems, of course. We talk about white supremacy and racism, the police in America, just redlining, the way the courts are set up. So many reasons that we are not exactly as free as is reported. But I think that I'm trying to find the silver lining. I'm trying not to be just a bummer. But I do think I think that if we're not too far away from the ability to fulfill that promise, I think that people are starting to become more aware. And I do think that more people are starting to recognize that there's power in numbers, there's power in cooperation, unionization, so I think that possibility still exists.
Okay.
That's about as
Nothing wrong with that answer. Nothing wrong with that answer at all. Now, what we're going to discuss today is we're going to try to get into. I mean, there's many reasons why people could leave or should leave or whatever, maybe choose to leave. But we're not going to try to address all of those reasons, but we will try to address some of those reasons. One of the reasons I think is a key point as to why some people are debating whether or not it's time to leave. And that reason is the healthcare system. A lot of people think that the healthcare system in the U.S. is broken. It's kind of really a sad state when countries you're scared to get sick for either not being able to afford treatment or going broke trying. And the truth really is that healthcare in the U.S. is mediocre. It costs too much and it's too reliant on money to really be able to care for people it's supposed to serve. Now, do you guys feel as because I know we've all at some point gotten sick and had to go to the hospital for whatever reason. But when you see other countries offering free healthcare to everyone, does the U.S. need to change its perspective on healthcare? Can they change their perspective on healthcare, or is it just going to continue to be money motivated and things like that? And with that question, I want to just leave that as an open-ended question to whoever wants to jump out there on a ledge. Nobody.
By all means, I yield.
Nobody.
That
Nobody.
was just me yielding.
Okay, go ahead, Minnie, and I'll take a stab after you.
All right. Minnie's in need of medical health care as we speak. All right, Holly, let's jump.
I'm gonna jump in after y'all.
Okay, so I think that, like with any system, there is always room for improvement. I think that because healthcare is a business and capitalism is very real in America, that always will take priority or is a priority when we talk about healthcare and patient treatment. I think people don't realize that as much as we'd like to view it as separate, like things cost, and you have to pay to run hospitals and pay people to be there to help take care of people, doctors, nurses, patient care, everybody that runs hospitals. I think what ends up happening is that because money is involved, people have to make life decisions on whether they can afford to get healthcare. And I think that's the unfortunate part about it, is that people don't get the treatment that they need all the time, or they have to jump through a lot of hoops to get the treatment that they need at some points where it's too late to get the treatment that they need, to maybe cure whatever sickness they had or cancer, things like that. So yes, always room for improvement to systems. I don't know to say, like, is it better in other places? Because there's always pros and cons to everything. But yes, that's what I think. I think, of course, there's always room for improvement. And I think, if money wasn't such a priority, I think patient care would be better in America in general.
Absolutely. I think so too. Wanted to go Minnie or Tyrone, whichever one of you guys.
Oh, I think Tyrone said he wanted to go last because he about to go off. But but like I was sneak in right before what Tyrone's about to say. It's a capitalist country, babies. You know what I'm saying? The money is not in the cure, my babies. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing with America. Can America ever have a great health system? Hell to the no, because we're a capitalist country and we like the monkey, okay? And a good healthcare system would not give you incentive for you to just keep having people on the pill, or having people do this, or having people do that, or keep increasing the amount of whatever, which increases the amount of money. I done got into a car accident, and I swear to you, the bill was like $600,000. I didn't know what the hell happened. I was like, I came out just fine. I didn't bleed, not a broken bone, just X-rays. X-rays. Thank God somebody insurance had to pay for that, because there's no way I could have. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just getting to the point where they're charging you so much for things that are needed that a normal person will go through without insurance, and they will be, like, literally, like she said, making life decisions. No one should be wondering, could I feed my family or pay this doctor bill? That should not be the worry of America. You know what I'm saying? So to simply answer the question, like you said beforehand, can America ever change when it comes to the healthcare? Hell to the no. Is there better healthcare in some other places? I don't know, because I never lived in other healthcare in other places. What I assume, though, if the system is not incentivized in bullshit, that it will be a better system.
Well, I will say this: a lot of the best doctors, most renowned doctors, don't come from America.
Ain't that something special?
Just putting that out in the atmosphere. They may come from other countries and reside in America. Just putting it out there. So, Tyrone, I want to afford you the opportunity to speak on this. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, but to your last point there, I do want to take a second to just say, like, we have wonderful healthcare professionals in this country, work really hard, great at what they do. We love them and appreciate them. So definitely want to, shout out to them. But the system as a whole is just, I mean, it's damn near a crime. It's absolutely, I mean, it's cost more people. Well, I don't say it's cost more people their lives, and it's saved because healthcare saves, but it has cost people their life. We talk about the idea of hospitals and stuff being a for-profit business, but it's not just in that it's, obviously insurance companies, there's this entire middleman that's making decisions based on what helps their bottom line the most. And that's just kind of okay. We just let that happen. It's a shame that we have the system that we have here. There's no need for it. No other country. We're the richest country in the world, pretty much, and have the worst healthcare system. I know people people who try to defend America's healthcare system says, well, if you go to another country and they have universal healthcare system, there's lines and there's waits and all this other stuff. That's a lot of talking points that are passed around to kind of go against the idea of universal healthcare, but also that eliminates that pretends that we don't have lines and waits and stuff here with the healthcare that we have now. Now, if you have access to good money and good healthcare, yeah, you can probably skip those lines. But it's the idea that we are in any way successful with our healthcare system is just unfortunately just so wrong. And it's sad because it could be so great. There are plenty of examples of it working really, really well. Just name a country that is considered, developed or first world or whatever metric you want to use. So yeah, the American healthcare system, and I say this from, as somebody who had to make some really tough choices about healthcare, in the last couple of years. So yeah, not good.
Yeah. Tyrone still has 12 fingers. He's just dead set on not getting them cut off. It just costs too much.
I got to keep them just in case. I need extra.
And he's extra, exactly. Now, moving on, another of the reasons that I've seen a lot of people, and this one I think will hit home for a lot of us, and is very important, is gun control. Gun control within the United States is just it's non-existent. There is no gun control at this point. I actually have some graphs here, and I want to kind of show you guys some of the stuff, and this is crazy. Mass shootings, all-time high in the U.S. Here's the graphic. Those black dots, for our Spotify listeners, I can tell you there's a lot of them. I can't count them, but I can tell you there's a lot of them. A very lot of black dots that appear on the U.S. map that in 2022 were indicative of mass shootings across the U.S.
I do want to point out really quick, those aren't just dots; those are actual bullet holes. The person who designed this graph went the extra mile and made it extra American. So I just want to
yes, that is absolutely correct. Yes, those are bullet holes. Thank you, Tyrone, for that. Also, not just the mass shootings, because mass shootings just kind of relates to any shootings that are over one. So a mass shooting can be anything over one person being shot at a time can be considered a mass shooting. But when you get a little deeper and you dig a little deeper, then you start going into school shootings, which is highly concerning because it regards our children. And honestly, guys, the map doesn't look too different. For our Spotify listeners, again, I am showing a map listing all of the school shootings from 2008 to 2022, and I can tell you, it looks like an outbreak of the chicken pox. It is definitely a lot of school shootings going on in America, and this is one of those things as parents that should concern us more than anything, right? Healthcare, we know that this is maybe a problem that we can't necessarily effectively change. This is going to come from a higher level of government. But the decision to take your children. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Oh no, just wanted to take a moment to point out that we live in a country where your kid could get shot in a school and then you might get a bill for it. Just want to throw that out there.
And that part. That part. That's a whole nother dynamic, different conversation.
Please continue.
Whole nother dynamic. But this is a concern, and this has been a concern since I would say 2021, or maybe you could even go back to 2020. when it was such an uptick in these mass shootings and everything like that. We've seen it. I think my wife just told me about another mass shooting at a Michigan school that just happened recently, where an individual went in and shot that place up as well, and it's starting to become a norm, and that's scary, right? To that you're as a parent, me and Holly, we have children, and many also has children. So when you hear and you see this graphic, Minnie or Holly, and
Mhm.
of course Tyrone, we'll get with you as well. But get on that making the kid bus, and we'll get you on here first. Nah, it's like no, scary. Um, nah, but when you see a graphic like that with so many holes in it and so many dots all over the map, how does that make you feel, Holly, as a parent? But even though we know you homeschool, uh, and maybe this is one of the reasons why, but if you were to, ever think about, allowing your girls to go to public school, would this be the biggest deterrent for you?
So my children will never go to public school, but if they were to go to private school, no, but even even if it was like public, private, whatever, let's not act like there aren't people who have access to guns and can just go in there and shoot it up. It doesn't matter public or private. But what I will say is it is concerning, because I think it was concerning the first time it was made news, like with Sandy Hook and Columbine, when we were just younger, and you're thinking like people are going to schools and killing people, elementary school and then high school, like that just seems so unimaginable, to think you're just learning and someone just walks in the school and just starts shooting. And then I think the fact that it's prevalent at all grade levels, whether it's elementary, junior high, high school, I think that is just really scary. And it, like you said, to gun control down to just like student safety, like how do you keep, yeah, it's almost like you think you're sending your kids someplace to learn and they'll be safe, and how bad could it be? What's the worst that can happen? And it's like, oh, active shooter training. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just such a different time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. How about you, Minnie? Is this a deterrent? I mean, I know your little one is in school currently, right? She does
Right.
attend public school.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
don't
goes
tell nobody where she go.
no, I ain't gonna come on now. I ain't gonna do that. I was saying she going to public school. But she goes to a pretty good school. But it's that the sad things are like when we were kids. Remember we had like tornado. You get under the desk for tornadoes or whatever. They doing it for shootings, bro. Like that's crazy. The fact that you gotta train now to what would happen if something like that would happen. So it does normalize it in their eyes as in this is a normal occurrence that might go down. So that things like that is to a parent of us who remember Columbine, because you know what I'm saying, we was here before that. Remember when that was not saying that was the first one, but it was the first one to hit bomb nationwide and worldwide. So to people who were can remember before that, it just blows your mind that your child might be doing drills that have to do with shooting and stuff. Does it deter me from her going to public school? I come from a different background that were schools that were actually way worse than this. That well, people would walk around willingly with guns inside the school. You ain't had to worry about no school shooters trying to shoot nobody. It was Tyrone, your homeboy, who was holding the 45. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's not, to me. It's a little different. I'm also a person who was very high on owning a weapon for the right reasons. Now, my biggest thing when it comes to gun control, and like you said, is the lack thereof. We have licenses and we have tests for every damn thing in this country. You can't do a damn thing in this country without getting a license and proving that you're good enough to do it. But when it comes to getting a gun, it's too damn easy. That's the problem to me. That's the problem. My problem to me is if you take care, first of all, we hit on the two things that really matter. The healthcare issue kind of goes to mental health issue, which kind of goes along with why the reasons there's so many shooters in the damn place in the first place. So you got that. And then the gun control issue, you are having a lack thereof and a lack thereof checking on people's psyche before they can even own a gun and who can be around them and what have you and all kinds of stuff. It's too easy for you to get a weapon in this country. That's my problem. Do I have a problem with people owning one? Hell to the no. Check my licensing, boy. But you know what I mean? But do I have a problem with people not going through the proper steps to get one, or people or the proper steps being really, can you read a board for 2 hours and remember what, regurgitate what they taught you and then write it on a piece of paper and then get a license to be able to walk out of here? That's kind of ridiculous, man. You're not doing any psychological checks. You're not checking the person's, like, you know, you might check a background, but you don't have to have a felony to be a fucked up person. You know what I mean? It's just, you know. Mm.
That is true. Now, Tyrone, you don't have any kids, and I hate to keep saying that, but it is true. But
Mm-hmm.
you do have eyes, and you so you cannot, you do have an opinion on this, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about it.
So this is one of the more complicated issues. It's a very American problem. Number one, just because of what guns have meant in our culture. When the Constitution was written, we were, essentially, in the early stages, in the midst of Revolutionary War and shit. You know what I mean? Like, or the Declaration of Independence and stuff. Later on, our Second Amendment, was written for a completely different time where we were like in the situation where soldiers could come into your home, like kind of that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like it was a completely different time. Anyway, because of the way guns are in our culture, we have a very particular problem to deal with, where you can't just be like, all right, no guns, because it just, the logistics of that don't work at all. There is, of course, the capitalist, where it's a very, very lucrative business that has a very powerful lobby behind it. The NRA is a very aggressive organization when it comes to keeping laws in the books and stuff. So there's that. Then you have like the other side of it, where a citizenry can't protect themselves without being armed, but that's like a whole other kind of issue. I'm just kind of like listing all the complicated points, not necessarily like offering anybody any solutions. Obviously, I'm just like listing the problems. But when it comes to school shootings, when it comes to gun control, common sense laws, and things like that, that has become more of a culture war issue. And because of that, we have people who are willing to just accept the fact that this is part of American life now. So anytime we end up in a situation like we did a couple of days ago with a school shooting, back to Columbine, in between several others, it's, this is terrible. What are we supposed to do? And then it's, we can't do anything because guns are America. And then we just kind of move on. When it hit Sandy Hook, it was especially troubling because we decided, even when it's kids, like it's not enough. We're going to just have to live this way. I don't see any end in sight to, to this problem for Americans as our culture changes the way it does. And as we cannot loosen this grip on guns because of just the way it's so ingrained in us. And then of course, like, just a couple, what was it, last week, we had members of Congress on the Republican Party go into Congress wearing assault rifle pins on their lapels instead of the American flag, like those kinds of things. It's, how are we supposed to get away from that? So if I were trying to send kids to school, I don't know, is there a safe place for anybody, really? School, the supermarket, malls, concerts. I mean, we've kind of, running out of locations that haven't been shot up.
Well, I think that's kind of why people are like, maybe it's time to go somewhere else. I mean, I think that's where the discussion kind of comes up, is when you start seeing your safety being threatened, and you realize that there's no place that's safe anymore, then you start to look elsewhere. And I think that's what people are starting to realize, is like, hey, there are places that afford you a sense of safety. Whether or not that is true, or I cannot speak to, because I have now traveled abroad and been to other places. But you have, I know you at one point lived in Europe, and are they have pretty strict gun laws in Europe, do they not?
in the parts that I visited, yeah, I mean, I spent time in England, and yeah, you can't just go buy a gun. I feel like I don't know this for sure, but I believe you can own like a hunting rifle, and I think even then, like it's they're small magazines, they're you know what is it, bolt action type stuff. Like I don't know what their laws are now, but it's like you've got to have a gun for like a very like specific purpose, and that's it. They don't have that issue. Their cops, a lot of people know this already, but their cops don't even walk around the street with guns. They have an armed police force that's very specific, specifically necessary only in certain times. Otherwise, beat cops and whoever else are walking around the streets, with their billy clubs or whatever, and that's about it. Oh, and whistles. The whistle's important.
Yeah, whistles. Love those whistles. Now, one of the other major issues, and I dare say this might be the most important issue for us specifically. And when I say us, I mean BIPOC, anybody who is not of Caucasian descent or race, because it affects us in America more than anything. And that would be the political and social divide in the U.S. I'm going to show you guys another graph. This graph is from the FBI. So I don't know how reputable that can be taken, but I couldn't. I knew Tyrone would question any other source. I said, okay, we'll go with the FBI. Let's try them.
I don't stop short of questioning the FBI. Because this is reported by, there's you can't fully trust a government entity, but here we go. Like as far as like reporting numbers and stuff, like getting crime numbers and stuff, you can't get a more accurate source than the FBI unless there's some other board that like independently investigates everything the FBI does and releases reports on it.
Well,
sadly, there's not.
Yeah, and so also with the FBI, it requires everybody to participate, and mostly it's reporting from like the state agencies. It doesn't go as down to like local and like county police forces and things. So a lot of crimes do not get reported, and so it's the statistics. I always just try to say, just because I have a master's in criminal justice, that as because mind you, we learned about it in the program because people are so quick to say, oh, go to the FBI and like give these stats, but just making you aware that when it comes to crime statistics, they're not as accurate as we'd like to think, because not everyone participates in giving the data, so it's not necessarily the most full and accurate picture.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
when I show this graph, that will make it even more scarier, because if they didn't get all
no, it does. That's why I'm sharing it, because we understand about like Black people being incarcerated or Black crime, but not understanding that like if the local we'll just give local Sebring, Florida police department is not reporting like any of the murders or anything like that for anybody in the area, those numbers don't make it, and so it's not truly reflective of all crime in America. So things like that. Yeah.
So now that you've heard from Holly Noon in regards to how accurate or inaccurate in this case these graphs can be and these ratios can be, this should scare the shit out of you. I'm just gonna say that. This is this says sworn law enforcement. Like that may say, oh, they're gonna tell the truth because they swore. But this is use of force data collection. In 2020, it was 53%. In 2021, it was 63%. So as you can see, it's going up. And with the numbers not maybe being skewed or not being all admitted, this number could very easily be higher than this. And when you see something like this, we know it affects us the most, right? Because a lot of these instances, when it's so-called use of force, quote unquote, it tends to end not so well for us. And I don't have the numbers to show how many police related deaths come out of this, but I can assume, and I think it would be a fair assumption to assume that it's pretty high. Um, now, when you again, we've gone through healthcare, we've gone through gun laws and gun control, and here we are with the social and political aspect, all going in a negative direction, which is up. In this case, most times up is not bad, but in this case, these things are continuing to rise. Again, how does this affect your psyche? Because also, what we do know is that um, the economic struggles or the economy is in direct correlation with mental health. A lot of people are affected. I've seen all kind of graphs. I've seen all kind of stories and all kind of different interviews with professional psychologists, and they talk about how the economy has a direct effect on your mental health. And I never really I understood that being broke could definitely affect you, but when you start seeing the prices, inflation, like right now, guys, the inflation as of what they just rated it at in America is at 6.5%. Now, again, this number could be more. It could be that number could be correct, but it more than likely it could be more. And then the national average before the 6.5% was at like 3%, was at like 3%. That was like the national average for a very long time. Last year, it went up as high as 9% as far as what I saw in as far as the inflation. Now, experts are saying that, hey guys, don't worry, better days are coming, and you just have to be patient. But when you see these rates keep continuing to rise, groceries, gas, food, everything you can imagine is going up in price. And then you see the suicide rate going up because it's gone up substantially. I had the graph, I didn't put it up. That's on me, guys. But yes, it has gone up substantially over the course of the last 2 years. When you see all of this again, is this a good enough reason after going through just like the couple of topics that a few topics we've talked about, to start again deciding whether or not it's time to maybe look elsewhere for a place to live. Tyrone.
Uh, so there are easier places to live right now. If I were somebody like now, I'm not planning on actively leaving myself. You know what I mean? I do think there's a silver lining, which I'll give after. But um, if I were somebody without a country, if I were just like an alien that was like just hovering around looking for a place to live, before the U.S. shot me down out of the sky because I was too high, I would hope to get a view of some countries, and America wouldn't be my first choice. Like if we're really just looking at the stats, America wouldn't be my first choice. But I do think part of the reason why it feels this way, like why it feels like everything's just trending in such a negative direction, I think there is sort of a little bit of a cultural shift in understanding that a lot of the ways that we were told the world was going to work haven't come to fruition, and we've learned that things maybe aren't as cut and dried as we thought they were. That maybe American exceptionalism wasn't always the way to go, and maybe capitalism is killing us slowly, and these kinds of things. These are conversations that we're having now, and these are things that we're becoming more privy to now. So it yes, it has shined a light on a lot of negative aspects of the way we live our life, but also I do believe that shift in culture and the awakening in large groups of individuals is going to have a positive effect. And I do think that there is a chance for like a very different version of America to exist that is much better at taking care of its people.
Yeah,
And
we're
I'm kind
definitely
of, I'm sticking around to see if that might happen.
yeah, we're gonna get into that. How about you, Minnie? How do you feel?
Burn it all down. That's right. Listen, like when it comes to police brutality, it sadly is not something that I don't like. It's not above my head. Like it's something that is a reality, sadly, in the communities that I come from. It has always been there. It's something that if you actually want to do your research and find out why it's the way it is and go all the way back to the first cops ever, then you go ahead and do you, and you might find out something that you might not know. But when it comes to this kind of like when it comes to the the sociology of the country and where it's going and what have you, like Tyrone alluded to, I think we're actually a more as a society, not I don't mean the powers to be. I don't mean the things to control or try to control the society. I mean the people itself. As a society, I think we are getting more conscious of what's going on, what really is and what really isn't, and we're doing things about it. Things that in other decades or in other generations we did not. We millennials were the first generation to start realizing shit, but a lot of us didn't do anything about it. I do see this next generation is coming up to have been learned from us. And it's like, okay, well, you guys saw what it is and you taught us what it is, but can we actually finally do something? So if he keeps going that trend, and like I see, like my kid or other kids, and I see them talking and the way they're talking, and when they're not talking about TikTok and stupid shit, it is refreshing. You do see a light at the end of the tunnel. Like you see, like, okay, this might end up working at the end if these kids end up doing, being stay the way they are. Now that's the thing. Can we keep the system from messing up the population and the population being able to flourish? That's the hard part.
I'm going to add a tiny bit to that. I do want to give. I don't want to take too much credit as a millennial. I want to give some credit to the hippies back in the 60s. The hippies had it right. Like they were on that list. They were like nature and community and like let's just live life and be peaceful. Like the hippies, and of course, all of the business suit types were like, look at these losers, and they taught us to be like, LOL, look at these hippies and Shaggy and Scooby and all that shit. But and also I forgot we were talking about the cops and shit too, because that last question had some different angles. Just real quick, want to say that policing should be abolished as it stands right now, and we need to think of an entirely new way because this way is broken and cannot be reformed. Just wanted to put that out there.
I'm glad you put that out there, Tyrone, because that now I've got a specific question for you, Holly, based on Tyrone's last comment, and that is it too late for America to change?
I'm gonna take the Obama approach. I have hope for change. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm always hopeful that the right people will come together to ignite some type of activism and change, just like some of our forefathers have. Whether it's voting rights or other legislative changes that kind of, I just understand. What I do recognize in America, progress is very slow, and sometimes people just don't. Sometimes you just don't want to wait anymore, and so I can understand why leaving. It can seem like a better option if you can get what you want sooner.
And not only is progress slow, but there are people actively fighting against it
for many decades.
Yeah. So that can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
They've been fighting for a long time. Ask Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's like, but when you think about it too, that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm hopeful because you have people like Obama who advocate, his wife. Like you have a group of people who advocate for hope and change. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but I think when you've kind of just been getting breadcrumbs, or there's always that like, well, you got this, but this is the twist in it. It's always like, come on, how long until we can have everything that's, we have a right to.
That we deserve. You can say it.
Yeah.
You can say it. It's okay.
Well, I would say like deserve a right to. I mean, however you want to word it, I think it's more, Well, because there's a part of me that's like, in America, we feel very entitled to a lot of things. So I don't necessarily, I feel like but in this case, I'm just saying, like, I've thought about leaving, but not like completely, but I've thought about finding homes in other countries just to have like peace of mind to like go back and forth to be like, all right, it's like America, I'll live here for 6 months and I'll come back when it's time for me to come back. So just almost having that exposure to see how other places work. And I have other friends or people I've connected with who do have homes in different countries. And they say like they like certain aspects about America, but sometimes it becomes too much and it's nice to be in
Get
other
away.
places.
You're trying to get on
Yeah.
that Beyonce program.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I'm just gonna go and jet off to my other home in this other country.
Yeah, I'm gonna go change the weather by hopping on this plane
Yeah.
to another country.
Must be nice. Now you bring up one of the things that another one of the reasons why people have contemplated going to, and we won't spend a lot of time on this. I just think it's important that people understand that these are things and issues that that these are issues that have a lot of credibility behind them. I can see why a person would contemplate going elsewhere when you start seeing these things, and then they compile and they just kind of one on top of the other on top of the other, and then it becomes too much of a burden. So but one of the things that we've talked about on this show is student debt. Student debt is a lot of people are like, look, man, this is too much, this is crazy. It's following me around for way too long in my life. It's hindering me from being my best version of myself. And also, if you are a person who owns a home or is a person who has, been looking to own a home, the real estate market in the U.S. right now is unrealistic. It is absolutely out of hand. You're paying uh Holly, what, three times the amount of what a house should be worth at this point. And it's just
Mhm.
ridiculous. And a lot of people realize that that same capital that you have can afford you in some places a mansion. You might go somewhere and take that same money and live like a king or queen, or whatever you want to be.
Texas. That's
Yeah,
everyone's going is Texas. 300,000 get you a little mansion over there.
a little mansion. Some places still in America. Now, I think this is going to be the last question, and I think this is the best question. And then we'll kind of wrap things up. And I'm going to send this directly to Tyrone because I know he's going to have a lot to say in regards to this. Um, Tyrone, what could you see being done to change things? Like, what has to happen to right this ship? Like, what do you need to see to feel like America has made that turn for the better?
Thank you for giving me the easy question. How do
Yeah.
we fix it? Cool. I'm gonna give you my surefire way to fix the United States of America. I'm just gonna throw out the big goals. We get it. It's hard. Progress is slow. It's crazy as shit out here. We understand that. But here's a few things that I would like to see happen. I think to make a huge dent in our problems. Number one, a universal basic income. A lot of our greatest civil rights leaders understood that we are we are we deserve basic human dignity, shelter, food. We deserve these things as like living people, and it was a part of the foundation of a lot of beliefs when it came to finding equity in this country and getting people started off on the right foot. So a universal basic income, that's number one. Uh, Universal access to education and healthcare is number two. Uh, you'll find that fixing those things right there would pretty much fix whatever crime problem exists right now. You'd have because people wouldn't need to commit crimes to survive, which is a lot of what we have in our crime in the crime rate right now is just uh, the fact that it's they're crimes of capital. It's stealing from stores, stealing from people, whatever you have to do is not crimes for the fun of it. So those things, I think, yeah, those things, and I'll just leave it right there. I think those three things, if you're not going to completely dismantle a system, I think those three things right there will give you enough to where people can live without the constant threat of losing everything that they have, every losing their shelter, losing their homes and stuff. I think that would be huge. Universal basic income, universal healthcare, universal education.
Those are great ideas. How about you, Holly? What do you think needs to happen for you to feel like the ship is being righted?
Let's see. How long is the show? No, I'm just kidding. Man, I honestly don't know where to start. I just would say high level. Politics have to change the way in which banking and finance industry works. I mean, healthcare, education, um, yeah, infrastructure, state and local and federal government. Yeah, just all that needs to change. So uproot the whole system and start over. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe a zombie apocalypse, but either way, that's where I'm gonna go with it. I just everything start again. That's where I'm at.
Gotcha. How about
Start
you,
over.
man? I feel like Minnie supports the whole zombie apocalypse idea. What's going on, Minnie?
Listen, I love it. I love the fact that we're trying to fix the unfixable. This is the thing. I love, like I said, I love this country. I love this country. I love the people of this country more than anything. The people of this country are things that keep me alive, man. I do shows, I do comedy shows, and you people's laughs keep me alive. I promise you. Now, what can make this country better? Uproot and burn down the whole damn system. My man, listen, there is not one thing that is not crooked in any of those things that she mentioned. Not one. There is a way for people to grease their hands and get above other people in every and each fraction of everything that she said, from education to healthcare to finance to all that. So if you really want to change, you're gonna have to uproot the whole thing. Because just, I mean, think about it. Just we can spend a whole nother show on the money and how it works and how they have made you. Did you know in the Constitution it tells you that paper money is worthless, yet you still accept it? Things of that nature. You see what I'm saying? Like, if we were to go ahead and fix this, we have to dispel all the magic that they have put in front of your eyes to make you believe that you are living this reality of freedom. Once you do that, and they have to answer for everything they've done, then you can change the system. But until then, what you want? More lies? Because that's all they're going to keep doing is lying to you, my man. So either change it from in the inside or deal with it, because it's not going to change as a whole. And I'm talking about the system. People, we have changed, and that's what I love. Because I believe if the people change, then the movement can begin. But that's a whole other conversation for another time, because the movement means that people will have to be able to let go of a lot of things that the system provides that they will not want to let go of.
I just want to let many know I don't accept paper cash. I only accept Dogecoin because I'm smart. So I just want to let you guys know. Buy crypto right now. I'm totally kidding. Don't ever do that.
Don't do that. Whatever you do, don't listen to Tyrone. Now, listen, I'm of the belief, and I fully support what you're saying, Minnie, because I think the radical approach is necessary in this case. I feel like one of the things that is indicative of America is that we have shown that when we are in a position where we're attacked, we bond together. We like even during the pandemic, you had a lot of divisiveness, but that was perpetuated. But when it comes to like an outside entity coming and trying to attack America, we tend to bond together as one. And I feel like what you said is absolutely necessary. You have to burn all of this down. It has to go back to real equality. If we all have nothing and we all don't, like if there's nobody on the hill and we're all down here on balanced playing field, on a balanced playing field, and we want to, even if your desire is to get back to the hill, you're still going to have to work with others in order to make that happen. And I feel like if we get to that point, if we ever get to that point, we see it on one of our favorite shows, The Last of Us. When you get into that position where everybody is out here, scrounging and scavenging, and we're all doing it, like you're either going to kill each other off, or you're going to find a way to bond together in order to make it work. And I would hope the latter of that would happen.
Also, I don't know if you're really selling this whole burn it all down thing. I want to add if you like, because you take it.
Listen, I'm not here to sell it. I'm just
but you do bring up a good point, because I think a lot of people are like just and I won't take long, but like what does it look like to make change on such a large scale? You know what I mean? Like, what do we go without? What do we sacrifice? How bad is life going to be for a while until we can find a new normal and this kind of stuff? I don't think it has to be all that bad and all that different. I mean, if you look at the way we found new normals, like we talked about how just like letting school shootings become the new normal. We're living through a pandemic and not doing anything about it, and that's our new normal now. Like the way we adapt to shit, like to being fed absolute shit and just being like, all right, I guess this is my shit now. Like we can make a better world out of a better situation. You know what I mean? Like if we get rid of the things that drive so much of our suffering, I have a sneaking suspicion that we will suffer less. That's my thought.
That's not a bad thought, but I think one of the things with that concept is availability. The reason that all of those things are what they are is because things are still available. Now, like as long as things are still available, then yeah, you can still function. But when you burn it all down, and then we have to rely on each other in order to build it back up. That's when you start really finding that common ground, because now I don't have the ability to step outside of what everybody else is dealing with. We all have to deal with it, that problem, whatever it is, together. Like even with those things that you just mentioned, that only affects certain people within those realms, because certain people can do what Holly said, which is go to their home in Dubai and chill until all of that over here is not done. What I'm saying is, as long as there's no availability, as long as we may all have to suffer, but we're all going to have to suffer together. Like there's not going to be anybody that's going to be over here living on the hill while everybody's suffering. Like, oh, it's a damn shame for them. That's what I'm saying. Is that's kind of been the problem with how our government has been working is all over these years, and from the foundation of things is we've had people that have been up here dictating what the people down here do, and that's what I'm saying is when we bring those people that are up here down here to the same level as the people that are dealing with all of that, then now you have to see, you get a firsthand look at what the struggle looks like, as opposed to living it up in your mountain home or on your house on the hill and all of those type of things. So I think Minnie had a point. I mean, everybody's got great points. So, it's one of those things where let's just hope. Let's get back to Obama. That somebody can come up with a way to change things. But I think we've done the best job we can today to inform people of some of these ideals and some of the things that people are thinking about and what we feel like needs to change within our government in order to make it a better place. Anything on the way out, guys? Any upcoming shows? I know I got my comics up here. Anything you guys want to talk about before we leave, other than Ant-Man?
Now, if you're in the Brooklyn area, come check me out at Tomzilla tomorrow night at 8 p.m. At the Grassy Knoll. See you there, or see you on another time.
Grassy Knoll. Oh, man.
Nice. I like that. The Grassy Knoll.
It's exactly what you think it is too.
I was about to say, better not be Kennedy performing in that place.
Oh no. This is the fun time.
But you're definitely gonna kill. But for me, hello. Tonight I got tonight I'm very nervous, guys. Tonight I get to interview one of my heroes growing up. I used to think I was gonna be a rapper one day, and my thing is that I was gonna be a part of the Mo Thugs, if you know who the Mo Thugs are.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about. So tonight I get to interview Lazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony at 91.5 Surreal Radio, Rollins Radio. So tune in if you can. 91.5. It will be Mo Thugs and myself and Calico, and we're gonna have a good time.
Do you think he's gonna talk at regular speed?
No.
I hope so. Because I'm gonna be slowed down.
Nah, man. What kind of interview would it be unless he's saying? I need him coming in there like I need gotta have some.
I got some good questions though. Y'all gotta listen. I got some good
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Absolutely, man. So listen,
Thank you.
Yeah, I got many.
Definitely tune in. Holly, anything on the way out?
I'm going to see Ant-Man and Wasp tomorrow. Woohoo!
Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Cannot wait. Cannot
Friday
wait.
for
We're
me.
going to see it a couple times before it's all said and done.
Yeah.
This week.
Yep.
So definitely can't wait for that. And I implore anybody who's bored and has nothing to do, or just wants to take your significant other out on a date because you forgot all about Valentine's Day. Just yeah, man. Quantumania could be a good way to get back out of the doghouse. I'm just saying. So definitely go check that out. Again, Last of Us is currently playing on HBO Max, and I'm gonna tell you, last week's episode was traumatizing, and I mean, I cried, absolutely,
Yeah.
I absolutely cried. And if you have not watched The Last of Us, it is a wonderfully written show. Last week's episode was so beautifully done. And I like, again, I know some people like our very good friend Yaz has this this thing about zombies. I really wish she could get over it because she is missing some brilliant
She
writing.
doesn't
And
like
last-
zombies.
Last episode
Oh,
messed her up.
she is
None scary.
horrified of them. She will not watch anything with anything that looks like a zombie, it resembles a zombie, or anything like that. But she's not scared of dragons, which is kind of weird. But whatever. We love you. We love you guys. Uh, and I guess that's about it. I just want to go ahead and make sure if you enjoyed the broadcast and you have any suggestions or topics you would like to hear us talk about, please feel free to reach out to us at our multiverse podcast email, and that email is multiverse podcast at gmail.com. That is multiverse, multyversed podcast at gmail.com. We do check that email daily. And if you have any suggestions or topics you would like us to talk about, or if you would like to be a guest on the show, please reach out to us and we will make sure that we get in contact with you. Also, I would like to give a special shout out to the Financial Griot. I did talk to Lawrence. We are going to talk again and see if we can get them back on the show to talk about how you maneuver in this inflated economy and what things you can do to possibly stay above water rather than sink with this Titanic ship that is going down. Also, if you like myself and Tyrone, if you like looking at us or you just like hearing us, then you can join us on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on the New Blurred Order, right here on Facebook and also YouTube. That is at New Blurred Order, the New Blurred Order on YouTube. And yeah, we talk about all things nerdy and cool. I'm so tired. You know what? We got to change this perception of nerdiness. Nerdiness is cool. This is the cool. It's the new cool. Being nerdy is the new cool in 2023 for sure. But if you are into the new cool, come join us. We have a lot of fun, and we got a lot to talk about. We'll be talking about The Last of Us and many other things. Probably some Ant-Man and Quantumania after we all see it this tomorrow. Or Friday or whenever we see it, or we may see it Thursday and Friday. But outside of that, I don't have anything else. So with that being said, I do have one thing else to say. Let me thank everybody in the comments section. You guys always kill it. Thank you for the support. We love you guys. We appreciate all the support. If you want to support us, you want to come join our wonderful studio audience, as I'd like to say. Then you can also join us in the Multiverse group on Facebook, where we do engage with our our commenters and our audience and our family. And we would love to have you. Please come around and join us. And outside of that, on behalf of myself, Holly Noon, Tyrone Thornhill, and Minnie Morales, we are the Multiverse Podcast. And until next week, we are